This is KTS, Milpitas, San Jose, and you're watching Cal Catster doing a movie review from Spectre. In the background, I've got, yeah, you're basically you've got your Daniel Craig and hero, and you got Christopher Walls. Christopher Walls there is the bad guy, and you got Mendez directing it again. And one of the Bond girls was actually older than James Bond. And she had been almost cast as a Bond girl 10 years ago. She got to play on this one. And so here we are with 3 years since Skyfall. So I believe it's been 3 years. It has. And we've come out with another James Bond movie. This time the James Bond movie is Skyfall. Not Skyfall, it's Spectre. And they have taken elements of the first couple of the 60s James Bond movies, as they've done with the other Craig ones, in more or less in the same way, to do a James Bond movie where they explore the origin of the evil supervillain Blofeld. Yes, he's a bad guy. And, yeah, buying this since you've probably already seen it. I know it's been out for a week, but I've given away who the bad guy is, but you probably have already spoilered that. So yeah, the whole review is spoiler. I won't give away the connection to Bond and Blofeld though. Yeah, so watching show and yeah. Yeah, it was a James Bond movie. The Quantum of Solace is not one of the titles from the books. I don't think. I think that was made up. And Spectre is just the organization. It's not really a book title either. It's the evil organization in the story. And it's an acronym. But I am too lazy to look it up, what the acronym was. But yeah, this is Bond 24. And it's since the last one was the 50th anniversary, it's got to be the 53rd. Yeah, so so here we are. Yeah, James Bond. So yeah, it starts. There's this kind of lackluster song, where the James Bond song, and they have like but they have all these like scantily clad images of women going around and stuff, and then they start off with the action of the story. The overall movie is improved from the other ones. They have Quantum of Solace at least. I wouldn't say it's as good as Skyfall. I would say that actually Skyfall was a little better, and that's so. And with Skyfall, what they meant to do was have Sean Connery show up at the end to be the guy in the house, but they didn't do that. Couldn't get him. That's why that scene seemed like that. They also, in this one, they have a new M, and they have a new Money Penny, and some other ones. The ones from the end of the last movie. It seems to take place a little bit after the last movie, but only a little bit. Yeah, it opens with them in Mexico at the Day of the Dead, Dios de la Muerta, Day of the Dead, which is kind of like Mexican Halloween, but it's more dark and twisted, and it's more about like appeasing the spirits and whatever. It's kind of like Halloween in a sense, but I would say that Halloween is more of a westernized sort of. Halloween's more for the kiddies getting candy and stuff and that kind of thing. It's not really dark, so to speak. I mean, it has elements of that, but it's not really meant to be really death. It's like we're sort of mocking it with Halloween. Whereas Dios de la Muerta kind of is actually about like death and stuff. It really is. But James Bond goes and he has to assassinate somebody because he's an assassin. And this leads to him running atop a rooftop at one point where he does the legalist maneuver. And I pointed this out in my review on the Cat's website as well, that he does the legalist maneuver in that a building is crumbling under his feet. And he's like, brim, 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 across it. Like Legolas in Lord of the Rings, or The Hobbit, Part 3. The Legulus maneuver. So yeah, but yeah, James Bond. What can I say about Skyfall? Not Skyfall, Spectre. Quickly as possible. Later on, he goes back to England, where his boss chews him out, yells at him about his mission that he wasn't supposed to be there, and that MI5 and MI6 want to merge together, so they're going to tear down the old building and get a new one in this super high-tech building, which is very, very similar to the plot of the last two Mission Impossible movies. It's a lot like some elements from Mission Impossible 4 and 5. The idea of this like bad guy who wants to circumvent the organization, the spy organization, in some way, and then sort of blackmail the good guy to the very end, so that the threat of them blowing up is gonna like cause everything to happen. He is like in the Skyfall. He is not interested in taking over the world necessarily, but unlike in Mission Impossible 5, where the bad guy is trying to take over the world by getting all the money, Blofeld already has the money, but he is under an alias in the story. So there's some interesting scenes in there. There is a rather similar to the Dark Knight Rises. There's a scene where the Dark Knight, no, just Dark Knight. The Dark Knight. There's a scene similar to the Joker scene when the Joker went into the mob group to take over the organization, and he dispatches one of the guys by poking at his eyeball with a pencil. The magic trick. There's a scene very similar to that in this movie where a bad guy is dispatched by another bad guy in a meeting where he pokes out his eyeballs. Very similar idea, so I guess they were inspired. Also, there was other eyeball gouging later on. And, of course, there was a infamous torture scene of James Bond in which they stick needles in his face and his head. Just, like, messed up. But, which would beg the question, wouldn't he be so screwed up after that scene that he couldn't do anything anymore? But he's James Bond, he just recovers. So, but yeah, it's not a bad movie. I had given Skyfall 3.5 stars. This one's 3. I can't say that it was the best one ever. Some people are like fawning over it, saying it's the best one ever. I was reminded of other movies that were better, and there have been other James Bond movies with this plot, so it's not like done before. I mean, they've done it like 23 times, so there are going to be some similarities to those. Yeah, MI5 kind of ended the Rogue Nation and the other one. Yeah, Rogue Nation, that was MI5. And the word MI5 is in there. Mission Impossible 5. And it was similar. Also, Furious 7. I guess if you're going to have bad guys that are doing something to try to take over the world or go after their family or something, that's basically what you got. Because Cold War doesn't really much exist anymore. So the early James Bond movies were about the Cold War. So anyway, was it good? Yes, it was good. The one drawback to the film was that, oddly enough, they were trying to do more like the 60s ones. And actually, the 60s ones are racier than these ones. By throwing back not really doing the love scenes. So they would have him... Yeah, he totally makes out with the older ladies, their Bond lady. And then they imply... And she's only 3 years older than him, but... Because in Hollywood, when you're 50, it's like... You're not anybody anymore, you might as well just leave. Hollywood's screwed up that way, especially with 50-year-old women. She's 50, and it's like no, she still could do it. I don't know why that's a problem with those people in Hollywood. That's messed up. That's what they do. Men in Hollywood, they can be 50. Actually, Daniel Craig is 47. Yeah, I just made myself older. What am I doing? 45. Not yet quite 45. Yeah, he's 2 years older than me. So yeah, that's what I meant. He's older than the other girl is, but yeah. So if they're gonna do the Bond girl thing, I'll leave the blooper in. It's funny. Yeah, I guess the age part is not relevant. I can cut that part out. Put it in the thing. Well, here's what I was trying to say. Okay, the oldest Bond girl ever is in this movie, but she's only 50. And in Hollywood, a woman that's 50 is like, oh no, no, she can't be in anything anymore. That was my point from before. And Daniel Craig's 47. I'm 45, but I'm not in Hollywood. Anyway, so that was what I was trying to say. It doesn't matter. And he makes out with her. And then later on, he makes out with the blonde Bond girl who's younger. And they don't really show them in bed together. Even though Daniel Craig lifted weights and stuff and did some training to make himself, his upper body look good. Maybe it's because his lower body doesn't look good anymore. Maybe it's kind of flappy down there. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to look that good naked, going at it. So I'm not going to do that. Oh no. Oh. But yeah, so yeah, there's your Bond. I guess I'm done pretty much. Well, they had a super special car, Aston Martin car, made up for it, so that it was like a very limited model car, and they had an older one as a throwback at the end. And some of the speculation about this movie, and I did give away a little bit of it, was that it would be the last one for Daniel Craig, and that the ending he actually is going to leave and all that, but he did that in the last two, so no. The last one and the one before that. Quantum of Solace he ran off too. But the Quantum of Solace ended and the other one immediately started. Yeah, so they Quantum of Solace starts at the end of the other action scenes. Yeah, he's getting a little long in the tooth. He's getting even more long in the tooth. They will have to replace him, but I think they could. There are 2 or 3 Bond books that have not been made into movies. One where he goes to New York, another one about the Queen, and a third one where it's like another sort of like tropical island one or something that they didn't use yet. So they could still use one of those as the next one. And Spectre is sort of a combination of some of the Connery stuff from way back. With Blofeld. It's strange that Blofeld is like in this movie he's supposed to be like a relation of the other one, I guess. Which is kind of weird. It's like what are the chances of the 60s Blofeld deciding I'm gonna have a kid. I want to have a kid. He's gonna grow up and 45 years later, he's totally gonna go after James Bond, after who would be technically not the original James Bond, but he's gonna go after him because all the other James Bonds that have been before, if it's canon, they had to be stopped. So I'm gonna send my offspring after this guy as a even though no he was actually an orphan or something, and it's like, really, that would happen? He could have been like a school teacher or something. He could have grown up to be something completely different other than the bad guy. It's like, okay. Anyway, so yeah, this review is longer than the one for Skyfall, but there it is. There's my review of Spectre. You may go and see it on DVD and whatnot. James Bond meets the X-Files. That would explain why there were so many James Bonds. It's like he's actually like a clone experiment, and he's actually like the Clonus horror, but crossed with like the island cross.